We all agree that at its core, a photograph is an act of preservation, a way of capturing something fleeting, a moment, a feeling, a sliver of time that might vanish forever. It should be simple. And yet, we insist on making it complicated, because if nothing else, humans excel at overcomplicating things. Once, we simply took a photo. Now, we deliberate, process, and debate. How best to save this moment? Should it be raw, brimming with endless possibilities yet weighed down by complexity? Or JPEG, quick and effortless but offering little room for change? This is not a mere technical debate. It is a reflection of our modern anxieties about control, about time, about the fear of missing out on something better. In the end, our choice between RAW and JPEG is less about pixels and more about how we want to experience photography itself. Once upon a time, photography was a patient art. You took a roll of film, handed it to a developer, and waited. Days later, you held tangible proof of your vision, imperfect but real. RAW photography is, in many ways, an extension of this process. It allows the modern photographer to step into the role of the old development shops, adjusting light, contrast, and color after the moment has passed. But here is a question. Do we need to be both the photographer and the lab technician? Fujifilm cameras, for example, already provide rich, well-balanced colors straight from the camera. They have, in a sense, built a development shop into the device itself. Must we still insist on processing every image as though perfection is something that can only be achieved in hindsight? There is something quietly oppressive about the burden of RAW files. Each one demands space, attention, and time. An 80-megabyte file does not simply sit on your hard drive. It lingers, whispering that it is unfinished, that it could be better, that you are not yet done. JPEG, by contrast, feels lighter. It is a photograph that has accepted itself. It does not beg for revision. It exists, ready to be shared, printed, and remembered. It does not ask you to agonize over color grading or shadow recovery. In choosing JPEG, you are choosing to be present, rather than promising yourself you will return to the past. It is often said that RAW is for those who truly care about photography. But what does it mean to care? There are countless photographers, deeply talented and revered, who never edited a single digital file. Some of the most iconic images in history were taken in camera, not meticulously reconstructed on a computer. Editing is a skill of its own, and not everyone needs to master it. One might argue that time spent tweaking a file could be better spent understanding composition, light, and emotion. What use is a perfectly processed image if the moment itself was lost in the pursuit of technical perfection? RAW offers a safety net, the ability to fix mistakes, to bring back lost details, to make a photo something it perhaps never was. But does this safety net make us careless? Does knowing that everything can be fixed later make us lazy in the present moment? Shooting JPEG forces you to be deliberate. You must think about exposure, about color, about composition before you press the shutter. And in doing so, you become a better photographer, not just a better editor. There is comfort in control, the ability to tweak and adjust, to craft something exactly as we imagined it. But the question is, how much control is truly necessary? At some point, RAW processing becomes less about improving an image and more about wrestling with endless possibilities. Should the highlights be slightly warmer? Should the shadows be deeper? Is there something more that can be extracted from this file? And so, a single image becomes a project rather than a memory. JPEG, on the other hand, embraces the limitations of reality. It reminds us that the best photos are not always the most technically perfect ones, but the ones that make us feel something, even or especially in their imperfection. Think of sushi. The best sushi is eaten as it is, fresh and unaltered. You do not take it apart, rearrange the fish, and attempt to reassemble it later. You trust the chef. JPEG is like sushi. It is meant to be enjoyed as is. Raw, however, is the equivalent of deciding you will prepare the sushi yourself, adjusting the ingredients, second guessing the presentation. And if you are a trained sushi chef, perhaps this makes sense. But for most of us, it only complicates something that was already beautiful to begin with. So, will you regret not shooting raw? Perhaps, but perhaps not. Because photography is not about pixels or formats, it is about moments and the way we choose to experience them. If you are an amateur, embrace JPEG format. Focus on the joy of capturing life as it happens. If you are a professional, RAW may offer the flexibility you need, especially when you are being paid. But do not mistake complexity for necessity. In the end, the best camera is the one you use, and the best photo is the one that makes you feel something, regardless of how it was saved.